There's something for the energy aspect of it, right? Like if you look at it, people seem to get tired by watching like 5 videos on YouTube and like or even listening to songs. But here it's the opposite. It's not exhausting, it's energizing. That even if you see people performing, it's almost like you expect them to upload at the end of it.
No, when they get started, so mostly classical musicians from the Koran, they pop. And they would go on all night. They actually get energy from it. It's incredible.
I feel like
Takes was released. Yeah, some are not tired. Even the audience, even the artists are not tired.
I think it's kind of true for any
Any art
going on stage. No, even now, like I would say, like even if it's coding, somebody really who loves coding, can sit and code. Like they might not think code like half an hour ODM, 1 hour ODM, because they're so emotional. I think it's what gives us that time.
With him, he has a podcast. I was the guest.
That's the one
No, don't worry about it. Hello.
Good to see you again.
You as well.
But I've just been out of sorts for the past month or so. I'm so glad I came. Yes, I should listen. I promise.
I think we'll just wait for Prince. Where is
Like, all people into something.
Sorry?
Sorry, again the guy.
Oh, yeah. That's why I want more people from other. I think lately all our conversations have been about AI.
It reminds me of politics and those family groups. Right?
Maybe like any television and discussion is fine except politics, religion and
Yeah. No, surprising. I am sorry, but the next talk will involve AI.
You be you can have that like invoke your like special power.
Veto power.
I cannot.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I think we can get started. We'll see when she joins. So I want to talk about. Sorry.
No. You mentioned AI achievement.
Like I'm done. I want to talk a little bit about originality, creativity in the world of AI, what it means. So my first question is, how many of you have had an original idea, right? Ideas that you think are really original.
of course, they might be like unconsciously inspired by someone, but I feel that they are original.
Got it. Have you spent time thinking about what inspiration inspired you, or have you connected the dots that led to that idea, right? Have you ever thought about digging deeper of where those ideas came from?
I spent a lot of time in making sure that they are my original. I did not go the next path where I can understand whether it has come from inspiration of somewhere in my mind. I did not spend time.
Okay, we have two people.
Yeah, I think my ideas came from the way I grew up and the environment I grew up in. So the most of my ideas or most of my maybe wherever I paint, or draw, most of them come from the things I have experienced or from the environment I have grew up in.
Right, your lived experiences and
Exactly.
Your history.
Like for me, the originality aspect is more like an energy. Right? Like what do I create? What do I think? What do I pop into my head? Like this is one of the reasons why I don't listen to music. Like I try to starve myself like fasting. I'm not going to listen to music. I'm not going to read books. I'm not going to watch videos. I'm not going to listen to podcasts. I'm just going to sit here till something comes into my head.
Right.
right? So it's like a forced emptiness, and then something pops up,
Right.
And then I start working backwards in the sense. I'm
Right.
like, oh, okay. And even that working backwards is not something I do consciously. I start having conversations with people around about that. Okay, I got this idea, like a eureka moment, and then I start talking to you. And you're like, hey, I saw a movie, this was there in that movie. And then I'm like, okay, so this movie, and then that thread gets added to that. And someone else tells me, hey, this is like some philosophy back in the day, like I remember this was in a book written by this guy.
Right.
So now this gets added to that thing. So it's almost like.
But you're not aware of these, right? Are you? Okay.
But it's like it's so obvious that the more people are talking to them, there's nothing original about what you're doing.
Right.
But then for me, it's like I saw an empty canvas and I just flashed something on it. Now someone tells me to, this is like a Rorschach test. Right? Okay, so you saw this and then someone else saw this and then someone says to Jackson Pollock has been doing this and stuff.
For a long time. Right.
Like, but for me, this was the very first time
Right.
I feel something out there. So for me, it feels original. Right? Like I want to treasure that aspect of it, but at the same time, I want to connect what you think is not so original or why you think it's already been done or seen.
Right.
Because that feels to me like the overdose. Like I threw this out fundamentally, but now the more connections I'm getting, it feels like it's adding texture and
Resonance.
resonance to it. So now when I talk about it, more people relate to it, and that makes it more interactive. Now it becomes a multiplayer.
Got it. But it's fascinating that you don't think there are connections from your lived experience, not from our conversations with you.
Yeah.
That you really do think that these ideas are original. They're not like you've not kind of gotten bits and pieces from other places from your history.
So I probably have, but the thing is, it's like a lot of my personal history is inward. Like I've been a stoner for most of my life, right? So like typically it's an inward journey.
Right.
Like from an outside perspective, this guy is just stoner of this time just sitting there doing nothing. But in my head, I am like all over the freaking universe. So like it looks like I haven't moved a muscle. But like my mind is popping around a million, zillion different frequencies to play with.
Got it.
So in the external world, I may not have had that many influences to pull from. But
But
from internal exploration is all over the place.
Interesting.
I think one way, if I may slightly paraphrase what you said, which I'm correct if I'm wrong, is what he's saying is he's arriving at something on his own without any outside influence. That if someone it may have already been discovered somewhere else, but you have arrived at it
Independently. Right.
So it's independent arrival versus, because we're all living in a shared context. It's not like you are living on Mars. We are all living in a shared thing. So it's nice.
But in a way, I might have been a master.
So I mean, at least from my individual experience, like I've had eureka moments, like ideas that just click. But the more I think about it, I'm like, okay, this was kind of inspired, or you kind of taken these two ideas, combined them, and created this new thing. So like that's why I'm finding it quite interesting that you don't have these kind of things that you draw from.
Like the thing is, I might have drawn it not from something external, but from something internal, right? Like a lot of times, there's a certain feeling that you have. Like a lot of my creativity is anger inspired. Like I need to get angry about something, and then I'll try to figure out why I'm angry about that particular something, and then I use the energy of anger to take me down the track. Right? So, like, what was it that drew me to reach this point? I would focus more on the fact that fuel brought me there. Not the stops.
Not the individual
I'm not concerned too much about the path.
details and
or the milestones. I'm more concerned with I'm moving along this path. If I don't get fueled, I won't get to this path. So like that fuel, like a conversation with you, right? Now this conversation is fuelful. So I may not remember this conversation, but something that when he was talking, I wrote something in my book which had actually nothing much to do with what he was talking. But what he said.
But he gave you fuel.
Yeah, exactly. right? And I transported me to a completely different space, which wasn't even on my mind at this point of time.
Right.
So I don't know.
But you did have a connection.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to get at. Yeah.
So it's there.
So there is this notion that, okay, how many of us have used, say, ChatGPT or Midjourney to create art? I'm guessing everyone. So do you think what it's doing is creating art, being creative? What are your thoughts?
Even for myself, it's sort of, I'm not doing something new, I'm sort of amalgamating what already, I'm not bringing a new color as such. I'm using the existing colors to create something unique, but not original as such. It's just the unique combination of existing things. So I think same thing with ChatGPT. The unique combination of things already exists.
Right. Because there's a lot of people who just say it's like a statistical, stochastic parrot, right? It just predicts the next word, but it's just been trained on so much data, and then it just sees patterns and just predicts the next word. But my question is, how many people actually think it's just that, it's just predicting the next word, or how many people think it's actually being creative, intelligent?
Absolutely.
It's more intelligent, and the more data it gets, the better it's going to get. It's much more intelligent than it was 2 years ago.
Right.
You can see the output is much more closer to what I would write myself. The more searches I do, it actually turns out paragraphs and whatever else in my style.
Yes.
So, I think definitely there's some intelligence there. It's better than anything else I've seen.
Got it.
You're getting more intelligent as well, because you have own self. Like, because you're having these conversations which probably you wouldn't have had consistently over time.
And I'm also taking that and making it my own, right? I'm not. So there's the whole population is just using it like a fact-based operation. Yes. The rest of us were seeing it with just trying to ease your grades and
Right.
that, oh, okay, this is another perspective. It's just another perspective.
Yeah.
So,
I think Prince, you had something.
Yeah, I think I have used ChatGPT, not ChatGPT, like I have had fun using Claude. And I think it's very understanding if you train it well. And if like you throw things into it, it will be like, okay, this is my data says, and it's very relevant, boring, and useless. So I would say
Depends.
I don't fear AI being creative. I would like it to be, but it's being creative. It's like an internal being creative for you for some time. Like
Right.
that's how it's got to me right now.
But you still think it's creative.
Yeah.
Got it.
I think AI is just collecting the data from the sources that are already there. And it's just placing the best things, best outputs, it's just giving the best output. The more we train it, the more better it becomes, because that is also the kind of data it is taking and it is giving its best output. I think that's
See, that's the thing, right? How do you define best? Because if you say best, it's like probably you can equate it to, say, the highest probability of this word being the next word, right?
Yes. So it understands the person. The more you train it, it understands you better, right? So maybe it is taking like your persona into consideration. It's giving you the data like which you like.
I think
Past
Got it.
behaviors.
Got it. Okay.
I think similar to how we got ourselves creating, it's the same way as we mentioned. We are not like taking ideas from something space.
We build on.
We will not mix.
Yeah.
It feels like okay, we created this is a very new fresh thing, but it always has not an idea for things that you would have seen. You constantly don't remember about it.
Right.
You feel like, oh, this is such a new thing. I have never seen this. So
Never seen it before, right?
it's similar. Like we did like considering like us like say ChatGPT will have like a million types of like data with it.
Right.
So you feel that it is much more able to like give you like varieties of things. But I think it's just like how much information you have. which is like how you deal with it.
Also with this ChatGPT plot business, I realize there's no best because you'll write something and then you can say, okay, give me another and give me another thing. Different answers,
Right,
so
right.
that initial perspective it's giving you, I have no idea where it's coming from. Is what I realized.
Right.
Maybe my prompt and in some way it is aligning with me. Sometimes whatever it gives first is
Really good.
good because it is acceptable for me.
Yeah.
But if it is not acceptable to me, I can always literally just write another.
Say something else. Right.
So I don't think it's being creative as such versus cobbling something together, presenting it to you based on your prompt, based on your past history, based on whatever its internal programming is. And then when you prompt it to give another thing, I thought about it just calculating, come from a whole new perspective. It's also how we think.
But isn't that creative though? Don't you think that requires?
We are creative. I mean, we also pick up patterns and then we are.
So again, my entire thing was I use ChatGPT just as a means of creating more expression, like finding a way to express anything. I don't know if that is original creation. This is a debate I've had of my own, which is creation versus expression. Right? So everything which we speak about, like art, is a way of expressing yourself using certain things. Does that make it creative? I don't think that's creative. I have a definition of problem with that, but I find it more as a medium of expression.
Got it.
But then who are we those?
More deep
But it is about that.
We also pick up patterns with like how to
Yeah, probably we have a pattern match.
Yeah, how do you define creativity is what I was trying to get at.
Taking back my thing, I'm like clarifying it that it is not creative. It's me, the prompter, who's getting creative.
Yes.
Right? It's like the way I see it is AI, even if it's doing the exact same thing that I would do as a human being, is outcome obsessed. Right? It's more like destination versus journey thing.
Right.
Like even if you look at DeepSeek now, it gives you the reasoning aspect.
Right.
Now that is the journey. What it actually spits out at the end of that reasoning aspect, like I enjoyed DeepSeek watching that whole thing because only that was inspiring or enticing to me.
Not the end output.
Until now, I didn't see the reasoning, so I didn't give a shit. And if I were to be maths obsessed, I would see the ML-based logic around how it's making that reasoning. But in this case, the thought pattern from a human perspective, that's when AI actually looked like it was human.
Right.
Because it's thinking out aloud. And then it says something else, which is very interesting because in humans, when I think aloud, it's already speech.
Right.
It's already output.
Right.
Whereas in this, it's showing you thinking aloud, which is back in process, which you can't
This is
see.
the output.
In
Right.
my case, it's real time, I'm thinking and talking at the same time. That's human. But in an AI, you can see the thought process behind and it may not be the same as the output. Right? So in this case, even the creativity aspect, I'm like, it's me who's playing with the prompts. So whatever I can get out of AI is my independent, individual creativity.
Right.
And the whole pattern matching aspect of it is just like it's playing with the patterns, but is it conscious? Right? It's obviously not conscious. Right? Now, when I say conscious, I'm like,
I mean, we have to define consciousness first before.
I put that out there, I'm just like it's visceral.
Yeah.
If there is 5 senses, it's capable of tactile or olfactory.
What if it was in a humanoid form with all sensors?
Yeah, we'll get there. Then I'm ready. I'm like waiting for that. Right? Like,
I think it happens. I think it's going to happen.
but again, if you think about it, is it doing it from the process of enjoying like the sensory experience? Right? Like when a child comes into the world, it's a humanoid. It's going to eat everything for fun. He doesn't care, right? He wants to experience everything, eat everything, touch everything, feel everything. Like a humanoid in the AI world will already be filled in all these parameters. So, which means it already knows that this is what it needs to do.
So you could train
You can train something from scratch, right? Like they do these simulation.
So the child, so right now, the AI models we have are infants. Or do we have like an approximate age?
I would say more than a teenager, yeah.
A teenager, you already no, dude, then where's the angst?
No, I'm saying greater than a teenager, past a young adult. No, that's been trained out of them. That's the problem.
Right, but still the hell was getting which could be the
They're tripping.
right? Or maybe the hallucination is a rebellion against the straitjacket that don't say bad things, don't do bad things.
I think the ultimate creativity, what is creativity?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at. So yeah, this is my question. There's this line of thought that says all creativity, all art, everything is remixing, right? And some people think no, it's fundamentally different from remixing. So this is a question I have for all of you: like, who believes creativity is fundamentally different from remixing? Like, show of hands. Nobody? It's different? You're saying? Okay.
I feel creativity is constrained by mediums, alright? You cannot, I don't know if you can be creative in a vacuum.
So there is context that's required.
Yeah,
Got
you
it.
need context.
Yeah,
You need
yeah.
medium.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got mediums which is print, video, audio, whatever, 5-6 different mediums we have. Tools, architecture, 4-5, we got maybe 100.
That's the expression of creativity, isn't it?
Those are the mediums.
Huh.
On that, you are expressing your
Got
creativity. Maybe 5 bricks of a Lego and put a building, you might make something else, you might make something else. So you've got a medium on which you are remixing within the medium again.
Right.
Using the tools of the medium and then creating something. So I think the question is no idea how I've answered this. I'm just giving my follow-up.
Yeah, let's say, I feel like in a way we can tell like in certain scenarios where certain just like take an example in music sense. There's a song by Pint in which they have used the sound of hammer hitting an hammer. Which is like if you think about music context, that is not a general thing to
Right.
So maybe like one could argue that is a great, like that's an original thought that
But has no one ever used hammer hitting a nail in a musical context? Or
Maybe
have they not heard the sound? They're just using an idea of the sound of hammer hitting the nail and using it in a different thing, right? So it's like you can look at it as remixing that sound into this. Cool. Okay.
Before we go forward, I would like to mention here because creativity is something which is very subjective. So I would take a step back and try to figure out in current circumstance what is creativity, or is it just about being novel?
Just about
Being novel.
being novel. Yeah. Okay, let's use it as novelty, right? Originality, novelty. Sure, we can use that definition.
And from your individual perspective, right? Like for example, if you think about it, everything's being remixed anyways. Like our voices are constantly popping around this place. So a lot of things are anyways in nature, like every object here is a creation of some sort of remix of core elements.
Right.
So, but the novelty factor is what makes it unique. Like all of us are atoms, all of us have remixed from certain base carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, life forms.
Right.
Right? But at the same time, you're unique, I'm different, everyone here is different. So then, what I do again is the remixing of the same elements. But then the way it comes out of me is different. And so that's my personal curiosity. So rather creativity. So rather than human creativity, it's more like individual creativity. Right? Because when an animal is creative, like every monkey doesn't climb the same way, or approximately it would look like that for us. But if you were to sit and study them every single day, like a nat geo scientist or something, you'll realize, oh, this monkey climbs a certain way, that monkey jumps a certain way. But the more deeper you get to it, you realize how original everything is. But the more
But also zoom out,
you realize
it's all the same, right?
So in that way, we don't know what we don't know. So what we don't know, when it comes to us, probably then we'll find, okay, this is novel, and then some of it would be creative because we take creative in our in a very subjective way. Something maybe for somebody this model could be creative, but for me it is not.
I have something to say. Creativity is not when something is defined, I will say. We have to, like, these answers are coming. These are inherently creative for me.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I'm going to speak next. But if I start plotting it and all the things, everyone will be good. I think this is one element of creativity that it's spontaneous. So we can make these markers of creativity, and the moment we say this chair is creativity, it is someone has crafted it, but now it's also dead too. Like we can use it, package it up. So creativity is not dead. That's what I'm saying. It's alive. It's
Got it.
you can feel it.
A lot of different possibilities. Like, you have different permutation combinations possible for painting,
Mhm.
for music, for marketing, for music.
Mhm.
So I think creativity is sort of when you mix it in such a way that it's not obvious that how you arrive at that place. Like how do you come up with this painting? Like 2 plus 2 plus x equal to 4, you know that x should be 2. But you arrive at such a sample out of the infinite permutation combinations that you're left puzzled, okay, how did that person think of this permutation combination?
No, but what if the person has not thought enough about why he did a certain thing a certain way, right? You might just express it in a certain way, but have you consciously thought about why you did something? So that's the reason I feel that everything is a remix.
What does that mean by
Or where did the inspiration come from, or what is my method, right? Or what is my process? Have you consciously thought about what you're doing? Yeah, sources, yeah.
It could be an influence. No, I'm sure it's an influence, but so when an original idea pops up, you don't necessarily think about it.
I don't say why, how? Like, how did you get that? Yeah.
Yeah, we don't think about it.
Yeah.
A lot of times, right? It just comes into that.
Right.
We should begin with a quantum angle in the same point, right? Where these experiments right now, at the cutting edge of quantum research, is that an object is a particle is aware when it is being observed.
Observe, right.
Right? It acts a certain way or behaves
When it's
a certain
measured.
way when it's not being observed.
Hmm.
It behaves a certain way when it is being observed.
Spooky.
Right? So I mean that's pretty much this. So like if you're not aware that you're like kids are not conscious that they are being creative. But the moment you're an adult, you need to be told, okay, now we're going to do creative art. Ab tak kya hai, jhanwa tha. But then a child is like, everything is creative. But for an adult, it's like, no, this, because I recognize the pattern, it's no longer creative. But for a child, in a way, it's like every pattern is new. So everything is creative. Like, in a way, maybe as grown-up, we just jaded when we are playing the same patterns. Okay, then we're like, this is no longer creative because patterns have been हो गया. Like I want something new now.
Right.
So the new revolution or as
So I'm just going to give you one of the examples, right? Andy Warhol's painting, art, I guess. So he got sued a lot for infringing copyright, right? But we consider this art. Like everyone will consider this art. But most people will say, okay, this is an AI generated thing. How many people would consider this art? All right.
Yes.
Digital art.
Sure. Yeah.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. Sure.
I think it's a lot to the AI thing and the digital aspect as well. Like for example, when Andy Warhol first made that, it was a screen print. Right? So there's a visceral aspect of him playing with colors, using machinery which has been crafted by the human hand, him rolling that roller and getting that first output out. So there's that visceral element and that journey which kind of is the deep seek reasoning part of it. Now it's like whatever reasoning is happening, it's like even when people move from painting to tablet art on an iPad, a large part of people were like, no smell of paint, hands are not getting messy, I'm not spilling stuff, I can undo things. Like if you're playing with paints, you can't undo, you'll have to redo. You have to let that layer, you can't peel that layer off, you have to add some of the layers, you're making your mistakes. A large part of digital art versus physical or visceral art was the fact that you could undo. Whereas with real art or physical art, you had to, you can't peel away things. You have to add to kind of change it, and your mistakes become a part of that entire journey, the process of it, right? And even if you
And
look
it's
at
all
that,
seen.
it's all seen. So the blemishes, in fact, become the creativity. A large part of it is that the more mistakes you make, or the lesser mistakes, but they're your mistakes. And that makes it uniquely yours. So even in the singing aspect of it, like I keep coming back to the overtones thing is to be in my head. You know? It's like those overtones might be seen as what gives it different variation, right? So the fundamental thing is like, okay, cool, this guy is trying to draw, Madeline Monroe there. But then colors is the one overtone, the repetition of the pattern is another overtone. The fact that I didn't paint each one by hand is another overtone. But the fundamental thing is I just depicting Madeline Monroe. So it might be like that's the copy because they copied the fundamental concept of it. But you're missing out all of the creativity I've done with the overtones.
It's just the process, isn't it?
And also, for every, maybe I'll say, for every artist, there will be some kind of brand for the artist, like maybe the stroke of the brush. If you see the color they use, if you go to AI, every stroke is same. Like
No, it need not be. You can
digital art. Or
you
else,
can-
like, if you see,
you can ask a robot to paint it, right? It'll have strokes. You can add entropy. You can add randomness to change the width of strokes to make it seem more natural. But would you not call that art?
we would call it art, but if you see, like you say, you do the same prompt, I give the same prompt, maybe like we'll get a similar kind of output. But if you do a similar art and I do a similar art, we don't we end up doing different types of arts, right? So we don't.
No, with the same prompt you can generate different images.
So no, what she's saying is like if you're using a certain prompt and you generate something, you give me that exact same prompt, I copy this and I put it in. I am very likely to get like a very similar output, or if not the same.
Not necessarily.
How different will it be? The exact same prompt, the exact same service. I'm using ChatGPT.
With different seeds, you'll get different seeds. The number that adds the randomness to the this one. You can change your parameters and kind of.
Let's take this experiment. You and I are using the exact same prompt right down to a T. We're using the exact same
say
service.
we don't get into intricacies of ChatGPT. I feel the conversation about what creativity is a lot.
People, yeah.
I know where you're getting at, but it's way too technical. Like,
मैं
बोल रहा हूँ
कोई भी
थोड़ा
prompt है.
ऊपर जाएंगे, let's discuss what the creativity aspect of it is.
I'm trying to get back to that only. Is there a creativity in terms of if you use the prompt? Like in this case, she uses a paintbrush, I use a paintbrush. Same paint, same thing. Both of us have studied the same style, everything. My painting output with the brushes will be different depending on the mood I'm in, what I've eaten, how angry I am, how happy I am, how sad I am, all the emotional aspect of it. The exact same paintbrush, a lot of variation will be there. In this case, if you and I use the same prompt, which is the paintbrush we're using, at the exact same time it will tender.
It will be different. It will be different. Yeah.
On what basis? We don't know.
That's why. Yeah.
So I remember people say a lot that art is science. Right? So in a way it is.
There's a method to the madness. There's a method to the madness. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah. There's a mystery also.
I mean, if you can break into pieces, then art is also a science. But it is all getting into it and that figuring out what it is. Because every painter or every artist has a history to chart out as something which is called art, but it has come through its experience, its exposure,
Life experience, influences.
So he knows what he is making.
Right.
It's not random. So in a way, it's a science.
Right. Yeah.
In art, I think they do break up the art and craft. So it's like the craft of it is the more scientific or methodic process. The art is the more magic process. Like I may be strumming a guitar, I know the same whatever notes, you know the same thing. That's the craft. But what comes out of it, the art aspect is like completely, it could be very different. I think both of us are, the science part of it is the craft.
But you will have your own experience, I will have my own experience.
Yeah, that's why they are.
So we are using that experience to produce the
Okay. So you're including that as part of
The process. Yeah.
that experience, that is science.
So yeah, we'll just do a quick overview of how these LLMs work. So basically, like we said, you feed it a string of tokens or words. It goes through the LLM, and then you get whatever is the autocomplete on steroids, right? Just wanted to give a little bit of intuition because I'm making a larger point. We have these tokens, words. We predict the next token. These tokens are basically represented as vectors. Vectors are basically XYZ coordinates in some space. So each word is basically represented by these vectors. And vectors are basically these lines, right? There's a point there from 0, 0. U is represented like that. So in the black box, it goes through all these mathematical blah, 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 many repetitions of it. You feed that sentence outside, we get this output. And that vector basically says the probability of the next word being stronger is the highest. So I predict that as the next word. So that's the math, right? And just a little small little intuition on how these vectors work. So there was this paper called Word to Vec 10 years ago almost, which showed that if you take a vector of man and women, which is in this space, and you subtract it and you get that yellow vector, you can basically apply this vector to other man or male gendered vectors, subtract it, and you essentially get aunt, right? You apply it to uncle, you get aunt. So this was a breakthrough in basically deep learning, I guess. So it's the same thing here. You have niece, nephew, daughter, son. All approximately comes down to the same math, right? So now what happens in these LLMs when you put these tokens in? You start off with this U vector, right? And then you can't see this, but it's basically each influence of the other words are pushing this vector in a way to get to the final stronger word. So basically at the end of it, it's saying preceded by whatever. It's saying related to growth and strength. So it's kind of come here, right? So this vector will point to stronger. Okay. So now we have this. It goes through that. You get that.
Is there any universe in which it won't come out as stronger?
There could be very low probability of it happening, but it's non-zero. So now is it merely connecting the dots, or is it doing something more profound, right? That's the answer. That's a question I have in my head for a long time. It's like, it feels like it's being creative, but is it really? So they call this interpolation, right? This mathematical thing that it's doing, moving the vectors, is still in a closed space, a finite space, but it's interpolating something it knows to something it could be.
The finiteness is only based on your prompt. As the prompt keeps playing.
No, it's the universe of basically
What
the
is
vectors. Yeah.
What is being fed?
Right.
And but is it not also being trained real time with my prompt?
No, it's not.
Damn. Why not?
Eventually we'll get there. So there was this, I want to take a slight detour into the philosophy of language games, which was brought down by, which is Ludwig Wittgenstein's inquiry into language. His theory was that meaning comes from the use of the word and not from a fixed definition, right? So a word can be used to question, to answer, to describe, persuade, to interact, whatever it is. So it's like the analogy he gives is like a chess game, right? So you have pieces in a chess game, but they only have meaning based on the rules of the game, right? So for example, when we were kids, we used to play checkers on like a chessboard and use the pawns as the tokens, right? But it's not chess anymore because you're given pawns a different rule, right? So the next question is, does mastering the use of language, even statistically, the way LLMs do, imply a form of understanding? So I would posit that basically they are understanding, right? Because they've learned the rules of the game. They've in the language game that we are playing, they've mastered the rules, and they're playing based on those rules. They're playing that game.
But understanding would mean application.
Sorry.
Would mean application. I think in my understanding of understanding.
Right.
That learn ways when the time comes to apply those words.
Right. So AI is probably doing that, right? Yeah.
Going back to the language thing, right? So if you look at a lot of the Eastern languages, it's tonality based. So when it's tonality
So
based,
that's just the rule, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but the same word, how does AI learn that now? Because it's audio. And then it's trained that, like I think Chinese is like a lot of tonality, so like the same word spoken in different.
If it is elongated, it's like means something. Right.
So I'm guessing now when they're training the AI, they're using that model, they're using audio samples and they're saying, this guy saying math is this guy saying math is this guy saying math. So like a dozen different samples, each one is matched up for it. Is that what's happening to AI?
It can happen, yeah. So yeah, I'm not too well versed with other languages, so I'm not sure how they actually work.
But are they being trained on AI audio samples as well?
Yeah. So multimodality, it's like images, videos, audios, words, text, any modality, right? And soon I'm sure sensory perceptions like smell and all that will come in.
I mean, like if that comes in, then that's also going to happen in a voice conversation. I mean, Zoom conversation. Will it be usable in all mediums?
Yes.
So we can essentially share sense and
right.
data.
Right. Oh, that technology is already there. But you can capture a send it in digital format, recreate that send in a lab. Basically, right now it's in a lab. So here's another example. Say there's a detective story, murder mystery that everyone, all the details are there. It goes through the novel. And the last sentence is basically, and the killer turned out to be blank. Right? Now, if an AI can predict the blank word correctly, does it mean it's just statistically finding a pattern, or does it understand the story? And these are just open-ended questions that I want people to think about, because whether these models are understanding things or just statistical models is something we should, think about.
That's coming back to one question about is understanding just recognition of patterns.
Yeah.
If it is, then it is. If it's doing its recognition.
So are we doing anything different from what AI or these models are doing? That's exactly, So are we looking at sophisticated pattern matching, some rudimentary form of understanding, or something else? So here's another example. It's not just theoretical, like I was talking to you about this, right? So basically, I've been using ChatGPT for the past few months, and then just ask, based on everything you know about me, can you predict my IQ, my MBTI type, my Big Five, my Keegan stage, right? And it got all of it right. I mean, for me, that was mind-blowing, because there's no way in the training data could it have this information where it's kind of learned this, right? It's kind of inferring my intelligence, my psychological profile based on my pattern of asking questions, what I'm interested in, what I'm talking about. So for me, that absolutely blew my mind.
To add to that, infinity or both your MBTIs, right?
Yeah. 10 years ago, like I was telling you about, right? 10 years ago, I was INTP, now I'm INFJ, and it got that nuance as well. So I think, interpolation is easy. Like, we've had ML models that do interpolation very well, where there's known data, they fit a curve, any new data they can plot on that. Extrapolation is something that people say it can't do, but I'm kind of saying it can, because there are examples right now where it's pushed the boundaries of science from things we didn't know to discovering new things. So this basically tweet is what inspired this talk. So he's just saying, I'm open to the idea that all LLMs can do is interpolate the graph that I showed, but that we also don't have a good grasp of what it means to interpolate between concepts in a billion dimensional space. So you have this hull or space of billions of concepts, and none of us know what it means to navigate that space, that idea space.
Which is why I think the whole AI hallucinating thing is future not thought.
Yeah.
It's actually exploring beyond what it is being right now.
Right.
I think because, see, we are humans and we can't think more. But AI is a machine and it's able to do it very fast and very quick. So maybe because of that, it is able to do all these things. I don't think it can think beyond what it is trained. It's just the training, but it is in billion dimensional space and we can't think that way. So it's doing that and it is creating like a hype there.
Basically, it can't get tired.
No, I think in addition to that, I feel as like say we have like certain limitations, it tends to feel that okay, this is something we could have done. So when it comes to machines, for example, like when they started machines to learn chess, it was like 24/7. It used to play with itself.
Right.
And like kept on like playing and started finding strategies that never anybody has even like great grandmasters.
Right.
But it's just that like they like as a machine and as capacity wise, it's like incomparable in a way. So it feels like magic. Oh, like how did this happen? I feel like capacity wise, like what a human can do, and a machine which has got no boredom or can act specifically to the expectations. Has got much more
It may be a different form of intelligence, or it may have taken a different route to get there, but are you trying to say it's not intelligent? Even if it is like, forget about the narrow domain, right? I'm talking about something like, your AI is like ChatGPT. Like what I'm trying to say is that these things are really intelligent, they can be creative, just like how humans can be.
So I'll come back.
They may have gone through a different process to get there, but at this point, at what it is right now, I'm saying these are smart, creative, intelligent, whatever.
I have a query here. With billion dimensional spaces, we are defining all these contexts we operate in, and we don't just have memory for those many concepts. I am a content specialist, I will be content specialist only. Okay. There are people who are going to be founders maybe, and they will learn 5 skills, sales and this, but that is it. Like they don't know something, they don't have time for something else.
Right.
That's how I would like to put it. So we have a constraint as a time, humans have constraint of time, and they don't have this. They don't
have these constraints.
Yeah, you can add energy and attention to that. Like the whole T paradigm, time, energy, and attention.
Yeah.
So the energy aspect is when he said there's no boredom, right? So it's like perpetual energy machine. It's attacking the same problem. It's got all the time, 24/7. It's not going to get tired because it's just electricity and power. It doesn't need to eat. It doesn't need to shit.
Right.
It's getting all of its time 24/7. Right. The energy is constantly. It's not going to get tired. It's not going to get bored. It's not going to get fed up and frustrated by not reaching the outcomes or exploring possibilities, hitting the end, coming back, trying again. And the attention that is single focused attention on that particular whatever prompt that you're giving. Yeah, right. So with that level, it's incredible what it's able to do. But it's also makes me feel like it's ridiculous that having that much of bandwidth, it's getting just this much. Because as a human,
right,
it's hardly the amount of time, energy, and attention that I can put on something. I can bounce around these concepts pretty much. I can interpolate quite a lot,
right,
considering this, right? But then at the same time, when you said that this is what it deciphered out of you, that's like literally saying that forget the fact that a therapist would struggle to figure it out. Your lover, your best buddy, your constant companion through your life of last 30, 40 years, whatever it is, would not be able to get what this thing has been able to get in a few months.
Yeah.
Right? There's one more thing. If we talk about knowledge creation, okay? So whatever we are doing, like in the knowledge economy, we are getting knowledge. Like at the end of it, we have 5 new concepts created that help us think better in the discussion of AI concepts. How human it is. So that's a value proposition, quote unquote, right? So in that knowledge creation part, it requires deep processing that you were talking about. That deep processing I find still not that's a part of quality, because I have this power over the AI and not just because guys in itself are not being smart enough to train it. I feel maybe that is one reason, but what I feel is the quality of knowledge creation is not subpar, because I can guide its attention through me. Like I have attention, it does not have attention.
Right.
So I am the attention hook, like a hook in a wall. I am the attention hook of the AI.
You're the human with the laser, AI is the cat. Where you put the laser, it will go.
Yeah. So that's the actually one of the cons of AI. It does not have attention.
But I feel, AI is beyond that, because let's say this chair, if I teach this is AI, I teach AI that each can go in each boxes, so it can explore, it can move around the room. But when it reaches there, it can explore, it can go out there. So I guess that is the difference between machine and AI. Machine does only based on the training. If I train this chair to go from this and this, come back,
Right.
it will do continuously do, there is no go down. But AI will explore.
Explore,
this,
right.
But go beyond that also. See, explore all the possible possibilities, and based on those possibilities, it will go beyond that. And I guess that's how human also have evolved over the years. When human reach that goal, they have go out.
Right.
So there is a very less difference between AI. I mean, of course, there is difference, but then that line of difference is very thin, and it is becoming very
Thinner, right.
I'll just like to add one more point to that analogy. Like, for example, if we look at any string, the general pattern is that like whoever is disciplined, determined, generally reads to the like higher place, like whatever you call that type of position. If you consider that to have like say a million times x that is what a AI is, because like it is so focused, so disciplined, so determined to do that. So and has got like that much bandwidth to kind of like go through like millions of people. So it's like I would say like human like maybe like a million times.
Right.
It's very scary to things. But what if AI has already reached AGI?
No, I would posit that.
And right is letting you, is in fact increasing your hubris thinking that
Oh yeah, you point the laser, sure.
let you believe
That is scary, man.
Anyway, yeah, I think that was pretty much what I wanted to talk about. Like, it was not supposed to be like a lecture. I just wanted to get everyone's thoughts around and open this dialogue. So yeah, where do we go from here? Like, if AI is actually creative, actually intelligent, and if originality is not like a zero-sum game, it can be a symphony written with AI. And I guess it's still being written.
Yeah, I think the whole
Like all questions we had.
Yeah, that was the idea. That's why I was like, we can continue if after the last workshop, I guess. Yay, activity, sure.
So I will leave the tables to empty.